All right, hey everybody, it's time for Cloudy with a Chance of Learning now. I've already seen a lot of questions coming in on Facebook here as we were getting some things set up behind the scenes. A lot of people wanting to know about strong storms tonight. We're going to be talking about all that. This is really going to be more of a lesson about strong to severe storms that moved through our area last night. So today was going to be Rockin' Monday. You can see that just below us here on the screen. That's the schedule for Cloudy with a Chance of Learning. Tomorrow is going to be all about sea breeze effects, but we've changed it up a little bit because there's a little bit of a lesson that we can do in real life right now other than Rockin' Monday. We're going to do that a little bit later. We want to talk a little bit about the storms from last night and use that for today's lesson.
And we've seen several waves of showers and thunderstorms, the last couple of days. So we talked about Tropical Storm Arthur that one Tropical Tuesday. And, with meteorology being an applied science, we like taking, real life scenarios and applying what we've learned with some of these Cloudy with a Chance of Learning videos. So let's go ahead and start out with some of you asking, are there storms tonight? Harley Hunter asked, and the answer is yes. We are under a level 2 slight risk out of 5. So that's a 2 out of a 5 scale.
Which that's what we were at last night.
Exactly. So timing as far as this event, weather models have been pushing a little bit later. We're talking after 7 p.m. and through the overnight hours. So this event will be a little bit later compared to yesterday.
Yeah, so we're going to be, we are going to have another chance for storms tonight. Last night's storms were really strong. We had reports of damage in parts of the area, especially getting closer towards the Helotes area.
Right. So we'll be covering some storm reports, rainfall estimates, and then we'll talk more about 24-hour rainfall totals later today in the newscast at 4, 5, 6, and 10. So a lot of updates for you today. But again, we are under that level 2 slight risk. So really all modes of severe weather possible. Can't rule out damaging wind gusts. I think that's going to be the biggest threat, just like yesterday. Some hail possible, but can't rule out an isolated tornado in tonight's event too. But flash flooding will be the biggest concern. You were just looking at some of the rivers and creeks around our viewing area.
Yeah, much of them are behaving themselves, but down towards Victoria, the Guadalupe River down towards Victoria is expected to go into minor flooding. The Guadalupe River in New Braunfels is fine right now. It has gone up a little bit, but no flooding concerns there. And then we've also been watching the San Antonio River down towards Elmendorf could go into the action stage. So below flood stage, but something that we could need to watch really closely. And the Blanco River also went into the action stage. No flood, but it did rise a lot. So something that we have to watch closely is we've already got a lot of water in the rivers. We're going to get more rain tonight. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Also the strong storms that we could see. Dog's whining a little bit. Sorry, guys. And we're going to talk a little bit about the storms that we had last night.
Right. So let's look at some of these comments here. We have Sharon Bradshaw saying, good afternoon. Hey, Sharon, glad that you're joining us today. We have Jeff saying hello from Dallas. Now, born and raised in Dallas here, so I'm a Dallas native here in my hometown, so love that. Helen saying hello. Of course, I answered Harley's question about storms tonight, ? Yes, we do have the chance for some strong to severe storms this evening. We have Angie saying, hey, we have Eva saying hello, and then we have George saying hello as well, and then some asking, are the storms going to be as bad as last night? So, all modes of severe weather still possible. We saw damaging wind gusts as the main threat last night, so that's what we're looking at again this evening.
So let's look right into it. What is a level 2 slight risk? That's been something that we've had to talk about in the past. What exactly does that even mean? Because a lot of people have questions. We have all these risks, level 1 through 5. What exactly is all that? A level 2 means scattered severe storms are possible, short-lived, and or widespread isolated intense storms will also be possible. So that's pretty much the best explainer. Possible, not a guarantee, not expected. That's you don't start seeing more expected in the language, which is the wording of these, until you get further on down the line, closer on into that even enhanced risk. Above that even, moderate risk is whenever we get more likely and expected into high.
And some of you are asking, did we have a tornado towards 211 and 90 last night? The National Weather Service in San Antonio, really in New Braunfels, but covers the same.
Sorry about that, Megan. We lost audio there, but you said the National Weather Service in San Antonio and Austin, they're going to survey that area later on today.
Yes, they will be serving northwestern parts of Bexar County later today, so that's something we'll look for. Let's talk about the ingredients that we have in place. You know, it's still very warm out there, mostly cloudy skies, and really not that bad. I mean, because of the recent rain last night and also this morning, temperatures are in the 70s. So noticeably cooler today, but still pretty humid. You know, we're at 76 in San Antonio, 78 in Pleasanton, really beginning to warm up in Pearsall and Cotulla in the low 80s. So you guys are one of the warmer communities in our region right now, along with George West and Beeville feeling like the mid 80s. So those are, you know, that's one ingredient is, you know, we have, you know, the warm air still in place, but we're also going to have a boundary help with these showers and thunderstorms. So we'll have more of a boundary that'll help nudge showers and thunderstorms, and that's going to help them fire up later this afternoon and also into this evening. I know some of you are asking about timing. I think when you compare it to, you know, Sunday evening's event last night, I think storms are going to move through a little bit later, so when most of us are asleep. Let's go ahead and look at dew points across our area. Like I said, very humid, so we take the humidity into account with, you know, looking at that environment. Is it favorable to support severe storms? Well, yes, we're also very humid. I mean, our dew point's pretty close to our air temperature, not that far in San Antonio, so still very humid. Some of us even have dew points in the 70s, so feeling very tropical. And George West and Beeville, we're at 64 degrees with our dew points in Hondo, 64 in Kerrville, so also pretty humid over the hill country.
Yeah, that's a lot of moisture in the air. Not as much as what we had last night, but still this system's going to be able to tap into all that moisture and really cause a lot of heavy rainfall at times. Man, it's been humid these last few days.
It really has been. The humidity always gets me when I try to go out for a run. I know sometimes, you know, we say the morning is better, but man, these last couple of mornings, it has just been really steamy outside. I mean, yeah, just really, really humid. We have Don Holding asking, will the storms move through quickly or will they move slower than the ones last night? So I think it just depends. You know, we were talking about that weather pattern we have in place, so that boundary that's going to help push storms along. Yeah, so it's going to, I think the storms are going to come in quick and then slow down as they get closer onto the coast. We kind of had that last night. They had a lot of rain down towards Victoria. Do you have the 24-hour rainfall totals, or are we going to get to that a little bit later? We will get to that.
Okay.
It's excellent. In the show.
So we're going to show that here in just a bit. We have a lot of other things we want to show first, but yeah, they did have a lot of rainfall down that way. The storms did slow down a little bit after they got east of San Antonio. I think the storms will slow down after they're well east of San Antonio again. So the Victoria area, maybe over to Columbus, Hallettsville, more rain compared to other areas. And we'll also show you, you know, one weather model's perspective. I mean, some of our weather models we were looking at before we started this Facebook Live, and some of them are in disagreement right now. Some of them actually show one round moving through right around, you know, midnight or so, and then a second round moving through early Tuesday morning. So what we need to watch for are the rainfall rates. You know, we could have rainfall rates 1 to 3 inches per hour, kind of like what we had yesterday. Of course, you know, a lot of you were commenting on our Facebook Live when we were live for several hours last night about how you had alerts going off on your phone. That is exactly what we want to hear. So make sure you have alerts that'll go off on your phone. Have the KINS 5 app. We have that free radar available on the go. So if you happen to lose power because some storms are going to produce a lot of cloud to ground lightning again this evening, it's just best to have not only your mobile devices charged, but also to have the radar in your back pocket too. Yeah, and Ann asked that question about the not much daytime heating. Will that keep the severe threat down? And yeah, we have that extra forcing that's going to cause the storm still to fire up, we're thinking. So we even had a few rumbles of thunder this morning. Let's go ahead and take this graphic full here. All right, 1 second. So again, we had some storms move through our area. I even heard a few rumbles of thunder in Bexar County early this morning. So right around sunrise, pretty decent rain that moved through this morning. So that's kind of helped keep temperatures a little bit lower today. And you were talking about that daytime heating. We also still
have the low cloud cover over our viewing area right now.
But we are seeing a little bit of breaks in that cloud cover.
Yeah, a little breaks here and there. I know some of you are probably wondering, is it going to rain, because it looks pretty ominous? Well, if you're up toward the Austin area, even closer to San Marcos, that's where they're looking at, some shower activity right now.
Yeah, even rain in Blanco at the moment. Up towards Gillespie County, they're seeing shower activity just east of Enchanted Rock. Some of the wineries possibly up there northeast of Fredericksburg. However, I don't know if there's a lot northeast of Fredericksburg. I think most of the wineries are in east and southeast Gillespie County, not so much on the north side, where it gets a little bit more on the rocky side, especially around Enchanted Rock itself.
Right. So something I really like to do here is go back 18 hours. So right now we're only looking at a 3-hour loop, and this includes, a little bit of this morning into about early afternoon. So let's take it a little bit toward yesterday. So this is an 18-hour loop. We were watching storms kind of rotating a little bit over Mexico, and then they eventually moved into Maverick County, so over the Eagle Pass area. And then storms and showers just continue to develop. We were watching a boundary out in West Texas, and showers and storms just got their act together and eventually formed this line. And typically when we're talking about a line of showers and storms, you're definitely going to have that wind threat.
Yeah, and oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, you got it.
And sometimes, we have a lot of hail here in South Texas. They have a little bit in Central Texas, but we only had one hail report here in South Texas where it was damaging hail. We had it was, I think, an 1 3/10 inches, so about half-dollar size hail reported at Gardner State Park. That's located there in northern Uvalde, southern Real counties. You see that one hail marker. That was our first severe thunderstorm warning of the day. The rest of the warnings were all mainly due to strong winds moving through.
Right, and they had that severe thunderstorm watch through midnight, and we even had some of you asking, what's the difference between a warning and a watch? And we're also going to cover that today, because it's so important. Typically March, May, even into early June, that's our severe weather season in South Texas. Definitely March and May. So it's so important to know the differences between the two.
And of course, that's going to be a little bit of a throwback to our first ever Cloudy with a Chance of Learning, which was Severe Weather 101. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, so a little throwback there. With this 18-hour radar loop, I also put on storm reports. We're going to advance it here and just kind of pause on storm reports to give you an idea of how many we've had. Again, the National Weather Service, they're going to survey damage onto northwestern portions of Bexar County later today. They're probably putting together the forecast, and they're going to send a crew out there to survey damage. At this time, I've looked at a lot of pictures, and I've only seen what I think would be wind damage and strong wind damage.
Same. The images that I've seen all look like wind damages, just wind damage reports, not so much in the way of tornado damage. Because typically when you have tornado damage, you have debris going in different directions, not all in the same direction. Now, here's the thing. We're only seeing a still image. We're not, once you're standing there, sometimes you can see more. You may see things in different directions.
Right.
The National Weather Service, of course, will take all that into consideration. They'll check everything out. But sometimes it's important to know this. I mentioned this on TV last night, and I know meteorologist Megan Massey was mentioning it while the tornado warning was going on in our digital center on Facebook. I mentioned that we had really strong winds moving through Helotes. If there's a tornado, whether there's a tornado or not, we're going to have damaging winds in the Helotes area. We
were talking about that too on Facebook Live.
Yeah, and surely enough, we had some damage, and it could very well be from straight line winds. I had experienced this in my first job in Jonesboro, Arkansas. We had something called a derecho move through. An interesting word there. That's basically a windstorm associated with a severe thunderstorm warning that extends a really long distance. The criteria is a certain amount of miles. I forget what that exact mileage is, but if a windstorm that continues for a certain amount of times is a derecho, and sometimes those windstorms can, even though they're not tornadoes, they can be just as serious or even worse. And here we have the possibility of, a roof was gone, a fence post stuck in a wall. Straight line winds can do that.
And what I'm going to do, because it's a little chopped off here, is I'm going to push it up just so you can see the full description. So this is right around the Helotes area. We were talking about this, thunderstorm damage report around the 10 o'clock newscast. We were doing team coverage with Weather Chief Bill Taylor, and the time of this report right around 8 p.m. So they had significant wind damage, and we were watching National Weather Service chat, and some storm spotters and emergency managers were saying, the home had significant damage, and then 2 homes right next to that house only had, some damage, maybe even, less than minor. So it's just crazy. The wind can definitely pack a punch. And that's why we always say, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible.
Yeah, with a post going straight through the wall there, I mean, that's definitely something that we have to keep a close eye on whenever we have strong storms that move through. That's why you want to get to the most interior room, because if a post can go through a wall, you want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible.
And some of you are talking about how fast are these storms going to move tonight? Are they going to move as slow as the storms we had last night? Well, you can't only look at, the brief spin up tornado threat and also the wind threat, but how fast, the speeds these storms are moving, and also take into account the rainfall totals. So flash flooding was also a concern, and this was right around 9:30 last night. Reports of closed roads, even going southbound on Highway 281 there. Near Brook Hollow, and also a car was stalled in the road. So we've also had, reports of multiple high water rescues.
Yeah, in the Almost Basin. Guys, please stay out of flooded areas. If you're camping this weekend, if you know somebody camping, please call them today. Even just give them a call right now. Let them know, hey, you may not want to be by the river tonight. The water is expected to possibly rise. Just because we will have heavy rainfall, there will be that risk of flooding, and we want to make sure everyone stays safe. It's not a good night to be camping out on the river. I know this is a weekend where a lot of people tend to do that. Meteorologist Megan Massey and I actually are avid campers ourselves. We love the great outdoors, but it's just not a good night to that. We've been together for 8 years here. We went camping once a few years back in Northeast Arkansas, and we actually called off the trip, drove home. It was probably about 11 o'clock at night, but we packed everything up and drove home just because we had strong winds in the area and we were worried about trees coming down. We were also at a campsite where people had died because of a massive flood that had struck the area. That's also happened along the Guadalupe River, 2015. The Memorial Day flood of 2015 along the Guadalupe River, or rather up towards Wimberley, that there were people who were along the river who actually were camping, and they were swept away. It happens fast. The river will rise fast if we get heavy rainfall, so please give them a call. And again, this is a lesson for kids too. Stay out of flooded areas. But if any of the parents are watching, and maybe you have family and friends out there, make sure you give them a call, let them know about the rise in water that's possible tonight.
So Ashley, you had commented the Wild Horse subdivision caught those winds, I think. You're exactly right. Some people reported a short-lived tornado. Ashley, we were just talking about how, the National Weather Service, they're going to send a crew out there, out that way to survey damage here in a couple of hours. So we'll know more this evening and what they found. But, Andrew made a good point on thunderstorm wind damage versus tornado damage. Tornado damage, you have debris in all different directions, whereas thunderstorm wind damage, trees and roofs will kind of go the same direction. Right. So you'll know where you have those straight line winds. And Monica, you were talking about a cell. So I guess you're seeing some ominous clouds looking dark towards San Marcos. There is some shower and thunderstorm activity, not moving toward your area, but moving toward Travis County. So that's into Austin.
Yeah, and nothing severe with those storms, just plain old rain and also a little bit of lightning. So you won't want to be outside with that, but nothing severe with those.
Right, so let's talk about another wind gust report. So this is outside of Bexar County. This is in Medina County and Hondo. This was 7:42 p.m., so just before sunset, 70-mile-an-hour wind gust recorded.
That's right when the wind started picking up, and right after that, they saw some rotation, and that's when they tornado warned the storm. But honestly, they also had the severe thunderstorm warning because of how strong the winds were. So northeast Medina County especially. So after the storm had even passed through Hondo, it looked like the winds may have even picked up a bit. And then it made its way all the way up into northwest Bexar County, where we saw the damage in the Helotes area.
So now we're taking it into Hollywood Park. This was just before 9 p.m. So 1-inch tree limbs broken and shingles blown off. So that's also another thunderstorm wind damage report.
Yes.
So that's why we also say, you know, stay away from windows, you know, because thunderstorm wind damage, we've had reports of, you know, things going through walls and homes.
Right. So it's important to, you know, stay to that interior room whenever severe weather is moving through.
So we also have social media pictures of a large tree snapped, let's see, at the base, and that's in Seguin. So the time of that report, a little bit later at 9:45. So didn't show this report last night on the 10 o'clock newscast because, you know, National Weather Service, they have to funnel these reports in officially, and then they'll populate on our graphics here.
Yeah, so man, really strong winds and really serious storms that moved through last night. So I'm glad everyone's okay. We had no reports of loss of life. We had no reports of any injuries. And as a meteorologist, that's the best outcome you could ever hear. I'll never forget Hurricane Nate. We had hurricane make landfall when I worked back in Biloxi, Mississippi, and everyone cheered whenever we found out there were no fatalities and no injuries reported, because we still had I think it was about a 12-foot storm surge, even though it was a Category 1. As a meteorologist, that's what you want to hear. No fatalities, no injuries after a severe weather event. You want to make sure everyone heeds the warnings and stays safe. That's why we do what we do.
Exactly. And you were just talking about, you know, estimated rainfall and the rainfall forecast. So we're going to see additional rainfall amounts, maybe up to 3 and 4 inches, with locally higher amounts this evening. And even through Tuesday evening, we're looking at another wave of showers and storms. So San Antonio, South Texas as a whole, we are just going to get stuck under this unsettled weather pattern for Memorial Day and Tuesday. Here's some of the rainfall estimates. Of course, this is radar indicated, and this is the last 24 hours. So some areas, now keep in mind, this is just radar estimates, so it's possible that, you know, rainfall gauges have picked up a little bit more in your community or even at your house if you have a personal rain gauge. Yeah,
and gosh, man, in 24 hours, they got more than 4 inches in some spots, and those same areas could pick up an additional maybe even 2 to 4, maybe even 5 inches tonight.
So you're talking about Medina County.
Yeah, I mean, man, that's a lot of rainfall.
And you've seen reports of over 5 inches of rain in some spots.
Yeah, I had actually targeted a spot there near that 4.6 you targeted in north of Hondo. I was looking at that last night. I targeted a spot that hit 5 inches, according to radar estimates, of course.
And a lot of these storms only were moving at speeds of 10 miles per hour, and even 15 miles per hour. That is very, very slow. Yeah, slow moving storms and a lot of moisture for these storms to work with. Right, so, you know, once that line began to move through Bexar County, it did pick up some speed, which is what we like. I know we still had some flash flooding going on, and we still had that flash flood warning in place last night. That's not in place right now, by the way, but you know, we saw speeds of storms starting to pick up around 45 miles per hour. Yeah, and guys, I'm going to go ahead and... There it is. I just wanted to make sure everyone can see some of these numbers because sometimes they're a little bit small on the screen, especially if you're watching from your phone. You see a lot of big numbers, though. Over towards Eagle Pass, not as much. I think they picked up a little bit more than this. Yeah, though. I think they did, too. I think the radar may be a little bit off. Sometimes it's off. Sometimes it doesn't pick up on the correct amount there. I think it's a little low on what it's trying to say for Eagle Pass. I think they'll see more tonight, too. I think we're going to see some really big drought improvements on that drought monitor when it comes to Thursday. That would be interesting, yeah. So it is going to take into account the rainfall we received last night, also through Tuesday. because they start, compiling all the data for the drought monitor on Tuesdays, and then they release it on Thursday.
Right.
So let's look at the forecast rainfall here. This is over the next 7 days. We have pockets of red there showing we could potentially see 2.5, 3 inches of rain over the next 7 days. A lot of purple showing, at least 1.5 inches for many counties.
And a majority of this is going to be falling tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of rainfall on top of the rain that we've already seen. Now, the good news is not all of this is going to fall tonight. Mm-hmm. We are going to have a little bit extra falling for the middle to latter part of the week as an upper level low pressure system. Mm-hmm. We talked a little bit about low pressure here in previous Cloudy with a Chance of Learnings. That upper level low is going to get cut off from the jet stream, and that means it's going to get stuck.
It's going to park itself over Texas.
Yeah, until something wants to swing through and pull it away from our area, it's going to get just stuck over our region. Mm-hmm. But the good side is we're going to be on the drier side of that low. Notice how I said drier. We're still expecting rain, but I think they'll see more rain over towards Louisiana and Mississippi.
Yeah, so watch for flooding over the next couple of days here. So we'll be doing a little bit throwback here about Severe Weather 101. It is severe weather season. This is typically when we have, active weather in our region. So it's so important to know what county you live in. Weather Chief Bill Taylor and I, we sat down and discussed this and repeated ourselves. We sounded like a broken record. But, last night we were talking about a few tornado warnings. We were talking about a few severe thunderstorm warnings and flash flood warnings. It is so important to know what county you live in so you can know if that warning's in effect for your area.
Yeah, just today, during this lesson, we've named a lot of counties. Do you know what county you live in? Do you know what town and city you live in? That's always very important. Do you know the town and city that's near you? Because we'll be naming those too.
And we had a lot of questions about watch versus warning. So a watch means conditions are favorable and to be prepared. Now, as far as a warning, this goes for a severe thunderstorm warning and also tornado warning. It means it has developed to take action and it's currently happening. We've always used the analogy cupcake. You have the cupcake ingredients. That's basically a watch. You have the ingredients to make the cupcake, and then the cupcake is made. So think of that as being the warning. Yeah,
or if you're like us, cookies. Let's say we have ingredients to make cookies, but you can't eat it yet because let's say you just have a bunch of flour and different things, eggs that you have to all mix together, and you then have to bake them. Well, I have the ingredients. Everything's ready. I just don't have a cookie yet. So that would be a cookie watch. And then once I've cooked everything and it's out of the oven and I've got a nice cookie and some milk in front of me, I have a cookie warning. That would be, I think, an even better case for us. We talk about the cupcakes, but we're big cookie eaters.
I don't know, cookie dough.
Cookie dough.
That'll get you sometimes too.
Yeah, it will.
All right, so that is the full breakdown of watch and warning. Something important to note is if your county is in or around a watch, always stay weather aware. Even if your county is not under a watch, I think conditions are still favorable because you are so close to that watch. A warning can also include multiple counties, but it's more of a polygon than, the entire county as a whole. I know we saw a lot of counties in just one polygon last night, but that's because we just had a long line of thunderstorms, even capable of producing a brief spin-up tornado.
And let's talk about what a polygon is. That's geometry. For those who may be younger, we're talking about that shaded yellow area that was showing up just a second ago. Megan, if you could bump it back just really quick, because I'd love to kind of explain that. You'll notice that little shaded area there that's located on the warning side. It's yellow and shaded. That's a polygon. It's got multiple sides there, and not exactly a perfect square. Sometimes these are a perfect square, the warning polygons, but that's just that area where they could see the stronger winds and the larger hail, and even sometimes possibly tornadoes within these severe thunderstorms.
Exactly. So again, polygons and also watches, warnings and watches, they can include multiple counties all at once. But what makes a storm severe? So quarter size hail, that's going to be 1 inch in diameter or greater. So that's going to be one of the criteria in order to have that severe thunderstorm warning.
Our first severe thunderstorm warning last night over near Gardner State Park. They had that criteria. They had above an inch size hail.
Also, winds of 58 miles per hour or greater. Some of us even had, wind gust of 70 miles per hour.
Yeah, so we definitely had severe weather criteria winds last night across much of the viewing area, across much of South Texas, rather.
And of course, a tornado. Breaking down the difference between a tornado watch and a tornado warning, very similar to, just a severe thunderstorm watch and warning. Tornadoes possible with a watch, and a warning means a tornado has potentially developed. We were watching, radar indicated rotation. And for us, we're more of a flash flood area.
Yes.
So with tornadoes here, I mean, you can get a warning that'll just pop up so quickly, especially when you get the brief spin up rotating tornadoes. So, sometimes they'll drop down really quick and then go back up. And so that's something that'll be interesting, I think, when they survey damage later today.
Yeah, that's going to be something that we'll be keeping a close eye on out for from our friends at the National Weather Service. They're going to let us know what they find. And again, weather is such a big communication job. I mean, we always have to keep communicating with each other to find out what's going on. And of course, that safest place to go.
Interior room. A lot of you were asking about, I'm on the second floor of an apartment building. What should I do?
You need to make friends with your downstairs neighbors if you can, or find a building that's close. We saw this in Jacksonville, Alabama. This was last year, I think it was. I want to say it was last year, maybe 2 years ago. A tornado hit Jacksonville, Alabama. And it caused, that's in kind of southern Alabama, or excuse me, kind of more eastern rather. But this tornado went through, and the second floor of an apartment complex had serious damage, practically gone. That's possible. That can happen. If you live in an upper floor of an apartment complex, maybe your clubhouse to the apartment complex is open. Maybe somebody else in the apartment complex. It's kind of a weird time with this sickness going around.
Yeah, some of the community apartment complex, the main lobby could be closed for you because of COVID-19. So, already have that safe place in mind. Can I go to a friend's house, and they have a sturdier shelter than I do, something like that.
Yeah. But make sure you're on that lowest floor that you can get to, and most interior room. Put as much between you and the outside, because you're protecting yourself from debris, things that could fly through the walls and into the windows. You may look at your walls in your home and say, there's nothing coming through that, but it's possible.
And, we even had a few flash flood warnings in place. So that means flooding is taking place or will soon, or it's even ongoing. So, the National Weather Service, they did a phenomenal job of issuing warnings in a timely manner. We've seen, 1 to 3 inches of rain that have fallen, even more than that, because showers were developing on the backside of that main line. So they actually extended the flash flood warning. And I knew that could have been a possibility, especially on our Facebook Live last night. This was after the 10 o'clock newscast, because, it was just steady light to moderate rain. The rain wasn't going anywhere for quite some time, so they did extend it past 1 a.m. last night. So, these are just a few things to keep in mind, especially since we live in a flood-prone area. When flooded, turn around, don't drown. A lot of high water rescues, can't stress this enough. If you don't know how high the water is, do not even risk your life. It is not worth it.
Yeah, the National Weather Service in Lubbock, Texas, earlier this week, posted a photo from Post, Texas, which again, that's closer on towards Lubbock. The road, because the river had flooded, it was the Brazos up in that direction, had flooded over the road. The pavement on the road, like you could still see the dirt from where the pavement was. The pavement had washed off to the side. Water is powerful, and you never know what's under that water. You don't know if the road is even still there. It could have washed out, and you could be going way deep into water, or you could get stuck. You could get washed downstream. Flooding kills more people every year than any other thing. Kills more people than lightning. Kills more people than tornadoes, more than hurricanes. Flooding is deadly. Water is powerful. remember to always stay out of floodwaters.
And we had a phenomenal light show, even heard rumbles of thunder, continuing past midnight. Lightning is a danger. It is a hazard. Always go inside and wait for the storms to pass. We just saw, once we turned the lightning on with that radar, we couldn't even see storms that much because they just had so much lightning. They were very electric storms and very strong storms at that. These cloud tops, they're insanely high, and then you're getting a lot of lightning just miles away from even outside that main line.
Yeah, these were really electric storms, a lot of energy to them. Whenever we have a lot of lightning, it means we have a lot of energy in the storm. So think of it this way, lightning is caused when a lot of particles are bouncing together. You get a lot of energy within the storm.
You have positive and negative charges within the cloud.
Right, yeah. And you have all of this air that's going fast, rising quickly within the cloud. Whenever you look up at the clouds, you see them growing or shrinking. Go up outside, guys, and look up at the sky, and you'll see the clouds. Just focus on one cloud for a while. You'll see it get larger in one area, shrink in other areas, and you'll be able to kind of see that in motion. And imagine a thunderstorm where the air is rising really fast, and that's where we have.
And it's always interesting too, looking at a cloud, especially a cumulonimbus, to see, is the cap going to impact the cloud growth? Because we talk about the cap keeping the lid on that severe weather, even the thunderstorm activity. So you can see the cap sometimes. You could also see wind shear. Sometimes when a cloud, is leaning a little bit, or, it's going miles very high into our atmosphere, that's showing us, the wind shear. That's giving us an idea of, how the wind shear is going with height in atmosphere. So, watch radar to see if storms are near. A great opportunity to mention our KINS 5 app, free radar, free weather alerts. And I'm just so impressed with how many of you that were commenting, I got alert on my phone, there's now a warning, and you were letting us know on Facebook Live. We love to see that. Keep those alerts on this evening and also into Tuesday.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the rain that we have possible for tonight.
So again, this is only one weather model's perspective. So we could see showers and storms try to develop as early as 7 p.m. today. Let's carry on through time here. So there's 7 p.m. Still a lot of us dry at this point, all the way through 10, and then we see showers and storms try to get their act together by 11.
Yeah, that's northern Edwards County. Where I'm talking about the Rock Springs area. That's northern Edwards County. So a little bit of a geography lesson here for South Texas. Remember the counties that we name and the towns that are there. Rock Springs is in Edwards County, and that's where we could see a little bit of thunderstorm activity at that time.
And we will also see if there's ever a watch issued at this time. Well, we just talked about the difference between a watch and a warning. With a warning, you have several minutes to prepare, up to maybe even an hour or two, because we had that huge polygon issued for multiple counties last night. Whereas a watch, you have several hours to prepare. So we'll try to see, and we'll update you guys to see if we have any watches available.
Yeah, so we'll of course continue to post those right here on our pages.
Exactly. So this is 10 p.m. 10 o'clock newscast will start at this time. We expect to do team coverage this evening to keep you ahead of the storms, of course. We'll continue through a couple more hours. So when most of us are asleep, this is 12 a.m. We're still looking at the possibility for strong wind gusts, hail, and heavy rain producing storms could lead to flash flooding. Of course, it just depends on how fast these storms will move tonight. Right,
and we're going to have to keep a very close eye on that. Again, that's in an area where we already had a lot of rainfall, kind of closer towards Medina County by about midnight. The storms approached the San Antonio area by about 1 a.m. to 2 a.m.
So I think that this is more of a consistency. Like I was saying, this is only one weather model's perspective, but we looked at a couple before we went live on Facebook, and most of them are showing, 12 a.m., so midnight through about 4 a.m., so that time frame. Like I was saying, a little bit later compared to yesterday's event.
Yeah, so we'll be watching that closely. Again, though, it's an overnight event, so it's important that you keep your phones turned up and loud so that you can get alerts throughout the night to make sure you can stay safe.
And one thing too is we'll have to watch our environment, you know, to see if it's capable of producing strong to severe storms at this point. You know, like I said, storms developed really early, so they'd had some daytime heating to work with yesterday, hence why it only took a few radar scans for them to develop really quickly,
right,
and produce a lot of cloud to ground lightning. So one thing we'll really watch here, how's our environment looking?
right.
So that's 2 a.m. And you were talking about this upper level low parking itself over Texas. So we actually have something to nudge showers and storms, help them really develop, unlike last night.
Right. So this trough that is actually set up further on off to our west is now shifting closer towards us. And as it gets closer towards us, we continue to see storm systems come around, giving a little bit of extra what we call forcing in the atmosphere. Right. And then eventually that upper level low will sink down closer over our region and cut off from the jet stream, leaving us with more showers and storms later this week, but not as much rain as what we're expecting tonight.
And you know, one thing with this particular weather model, it shows a lot of bright purples. Now, I assure you, these storms are going to produce like massive hail like this, you know, model is showing. It's mainly just showing that storms could be strong and maybe produce hail.
Yeah, and meteorologist Megan Massey makes a great point there. This is the HRRR. I've talked about this before in past weather classrooms. Some models have different trends. Each model actually has a different trend that it has.
Right.
The HRRR is known for overdoing it a little bit. So you see those pinks and purples showing up on the screen. We don't expect storms to be that intense. We still expect them to be intense, but the level of intensity that this model does 9 times out of 10 is way more intense than what the storms will actually be.
It's a little stronger.
What you need to know is that we're still expecting strong to severe storms, just not as serious as what this model is trying to show.
So what we'll have to watch here are a few things and a few scenarios that we could see. Some weather models, like I said, showing one line moving through overnight into the early morning hours on Tuesday. Some other weather models show line 1 and then a line 2 beginning to form, you know, out in the Eagle Pass and Uvalde. And some keep storms, you know, right over southern counties. So what I think overall is, stay weather aware. We'll let you know if there's any watch and or warnings in place tonight. I know some of you were asking Uvalde County and the warning for tonight. There are no warnings in place and no watches right now. So we'll definitely let you know. If there are any watches that'll be issued, it's going to be hours from now.
Yeah.
Way later. So this is 4 a.m. Tuesday. So pockets of heavy rain will linger into about sunrise on Tuesday here at 6 a.m. And looks like a lot of our western counties will begin to dry out by sunrise on Tuesday.
Yeah, and these storms will continue to shift east as we head throughout the morning on Tuesday. And by Tuesday afternoon, it should be a bit quieter for about everybody.
But then another wave of rain moves in Tuesday evening. So like we've been saying, you know, stay weather aware. A lot of counties under a level 2 slight risk, a level 2 out of 5. This means isolated severe thunderstorms will be possible. Stay weather aware because all modes of severe weather will be possible tonight. So we'll try to see if showers and thunderstorms develop before 10 p.m. and then try to get their act together to form this line overnight into the early morning hours on Tuesday. Anything else you want to add?
No, I just want to remind everybody that Cloudy with a Chance of Learning, that's what this is. Again, if you're just now tuning in, this is your first time to join. We are doing weather classroom talks every single day, Monday through Friday. Today was supposed to be Rockin' Monday, but because we had the opportunity to bring some real, you know, some timely scenarios in with severe weather, we wanted to make this a severe weather bonus lesson. So Rockin' Monday is still going to happen. We're going to do it in about 2 weeks. Still going to be Rockin' Monday. Not next week, but the week after, we're going to do that. Tomorrow is going to be sea breeze effects. You know, I used to live along the coast, Megan, and I loved the sea breeze thunderstorms. They were absolutely stunning, super tall, energetic storms. Sometimes they went severe. That was not as exciting, but they would bring you lots of heavy rain, and the sea breeze, once it hit you, it would actually keep your coastal communities cooler. We're going to talk all about that coming up here later on, really tomorrow at 1 p.m. for the Cloudy with a Chance of Learning, our Tuesday our Tuesday edition. I'm excited to do that one. And then on Wednesday, we have Flash Flood Alley. We've talked a little bit about flooding concerns here already.
Right.
And then Forecasting 101 on Thursday. Fun Time Friday, where we share your photos and pictures. That will be, of course, on Friday. So, guys, I'm excited for this to continue. Again, we're doing Cloudy with a Chance of Learning now all the way through July. And who knows, we may just keep doing this for forever.
Yeah.
We enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I hope y'all have enjoyed it as well. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. Weather Chief Bill Taylor will be on tonight at 4, 5, 6, and 10. Meteorologist Megan Massey is going to be in, also covering the storms. And I'm doing the morning show tomorrow, but I'm going to be in too later tonight whenever severe weather starts to begin, assisting you on digital stuff.
Exactly. So we'll be live on Facebook, on our KENS 5 Facebook page. We have a few more questions here. Are we looking at the potential for spin-up tornadoes like last night or more along track? I would say brief spin-up. Yeah,
brief spin-ups. I'd say for sure on that one. Yeah, just brief spin-ups if we do see any at all. Again, that's not the highest threat. Damaging wind gusts and hail are the main threats. We'll, of course, continue to keep everybody updated on that. Charge those mobile devices, though. Go ahead and do that now because power outages will be possible. And we'll, again, just keep you updated on everything.
Yeah, we hope you guys have a safe Memorial Day.
Yep, everyone have a wonderful and wonderful and meaningful Memorial Day. And we'll keep you updated right here behind the scenes.